start recording and share the screen. That's it. So, hello everyone to this second meeting of 2021, and as always, Dan will go over pretty much all the slides that he made. So, and as always, if you have any question, just put them on the chat or unmute yourself and ask us whatever you don't understand. So let's go for it. Dan, all yours.
Yeah, cheers man, appreciate it. So I'm aware that it's been a pretty busy week within LUUTIS already, so I want to keep tonight really short. There's only 8 slides, 6 with content, so I wouldn't worry too much. But I just want to kick it off really interactive. Has anyone attended the Green Finance events? So like yesterday's call and the day before yesterday. If anyone did, just take yourself off mute. Just be really interesting to see what your take was.
Yeah, I went to the Arabesque one yesterday.
Nice. So did I. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked how they also focus on the non-financials and how they then have a significant impact on their financial information.
Yeah, definitely.
What was the other Green Week one? I forgot.
The one before that was, I'm trying to think. It was with yeah, Nick Guest from Bruin Dolphin. I mean, I attended that one. Thought that one was pretty interesting. How they screen and rescreen companies every quarter. Thought it was really interesting to see the concept of greenwashing, especially considering we hold some ESG firms, and then how it's like changed over time and how the performance is written up as well. I mean, surely there must have been a few of us there. Couldn't have just been Haley.
I was there. Yeah, I really enjoyed the talk last night. I thought the first one was a bit dull, but I thought last night was really interesting. Actually, last night it was a bit funny when he was like, what was he saying? He spent ages. With the if I put in an investment of £100 and like how satisfied would you be? But he seemed like a really clever guy. Like he was he spoke really well. The AI investment tool was just so interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy how interesting like investing's gotten compared to like 10-20 years ago now. Just like totally different. So next slide's gone, so I think.
There we go.
Yeah, quick market overview. The first point's now made invalid. Bitcoin hit 51k, nearly 52. Crazy stuff. I mean, if you hold Bitcoin, great for you. If not, I'll maybe hold back and wait for a pullback. But yeah, cryptocurrency is just going crazy right now. A bit of institutional interest is going to really cause these big bullish moves. But until we see maybe a bit of real interest from the banks, it probably will hover around 40-50k, I think. But that Bitcoin has just been dominating the news. Novavax have just wrapped up the US trials of their vaccine, so even more of a bullish sentiment for wider equities as the world tries to get back to normal. And relating to that, the UK is starting to explore no jab, no job policy. So you're going to lose your job if you don't get your jabs.
That's a bit of an extreme statement, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know the law behind it. So if anyone does law, feel free to put a comment in or take yourself off mute. It'd be interesting to hear your side of it. So US banks have got to go under some stress testing this week to gauge the performance if the financial markets crash by 55%. It's relating to how they would pay the liabilities, I believe, because the US markets have really been on fire for the past year.
Do you know
But
what?
stress tests are completely normal, so I wouldn't worry about them.
Do you know, Dan, why they chose that 55% figure instead of 50 or 60%? Because it sounds a bit weird.
I don't know why. Do you?
No, I don't know. No idea.
I mean, I just read the FT one morning. I think it was this morning or yesterday.
Right.
Yeah. So Ehang, the Chinese firm which has flying taxis, they've been involved with some fraud claims, and the share price is down, I think, 70% today. Massive claims. A short report came out, and it's just destroyed the company. Stating that they're overvalued, they've got no tangible product, the financial statements are unaudited, and the list goes on. Another example of non-profitable tech really hitting the ground, quite reminiscent of the noughties with the dot-com era. I'm sure everyone's got their own view on that, but it's really dangerous stuff. Just quickly moving on there, FTSE's started to get targeted by some private equity firms because it's been relatively underperforming everyone else. So companies are looking quite cheap for what they're worth. So private equity houses are starting to really pay a bit more attention to the UK. And then this is a really recent one, bit off topic, but Texas have had a huge blackout issue. And a quick search in the news, you'll see the extent of it. You might have seen some stuff on Instagram already, but it's caused massive energy issues. The state is essentially frozen over, and I mean that literally. Like, people's toilets are starting to freeze because there's no heating, because the energy firms can't provide it. Whether it's due to deregulation or whether it's due to a bit of mishap, it's happened regardless, and it's caused huge issues. But apart from that, has anyone else heard anything at all?
And I mean, regarding that last bullet point, price of the oil going up because kind of production in Texas, I mean, has kind of stopped or something like that. I think I've read. And something else that we didn't mention last week or 2 weeks ago about kind of Draghi's or Italy's new government run by Draghi, which I think it is quite important in terms of European politics.
Yeah,
what else,
definitely.
guys?
I read into that briefly. He was kind of undergoing the vote when I started looking into it. I know he's got the majority now, so do you have any more detail about that, Console?
No. I mean, I kind of like Draghi. I mean, with what he did in Europe or with Europe in 2012. So, I mean, I believe more in him than in some kind of random Italian politician to run the government. So we'll see what happens there.
Nah, definitely. Has anyone else got any news that they've seen? Just take yourself off mute, put a comment in. It's always nice to get interactive in these sessions where possible.
I'm eating my dinner still, so I can't turn I can turn my camera on, but you'll see in lasagna.
It's alright, bro, don't worry.
But I did hear related to kind of Bitcoin hitting highs of 50k and plus. I think Coinbase is the largest exchange platform, and it's going to be having its IPO in the coming months. And I think I saw somewhere like a valuation of around $70 billion. So that'll be an exciting time, kind of just formalizes the cryptocurrency market, links it easily with the stock market, and people that don't really want to go through the hassle of setting up their own account and trading the cryptocurrencies directly can invest in Coinbase instead.
Nah, good shout. I was acutely aware of an IPO kind of getting rumoured, but it's good to think it's getting formalised. I think Robinhood are gunning for an IPO as well now. But relating to Robinhood, some people involved on Wall Street Bets have had class action lawsuits just placed against them for market manipulation, and a few of them are actually CFA holders. For a bit of background, the CFA is a title you can get by taking some exams. It stands for Chartered Financial Analyst, and they've got a class action lawsuit against them from the hedge funds, so they're paying the price, which is quite interesting to see. A good one to keep up to date with. I think that you just announced a new deal with Moderna. I don't know too much about that, but could you please take yourself off mute and maybe bring a bit more light to that one? Amen.
Oh yeah, I think they just announced a deal to bring like 150 million doses this year, then 150 million early next year. I think that just boosts the confidence in the market.
No, definitely agree with you there. The whole vaccination thing is really, really good for the world. Hoping to get back on like our feet real soon. But has anyone else got any news before I move on?
Yeah. So I know that Israel is planning on removing lockdown restrictions, and also I think that it is speculated that they're going to announce a plan to move out of lockdown next week. That plus the 15 million jobs administrated that we reached last week. That probably should bring up business confidence and maybe be more spending, which is something that we should probably think about. And also regarding tourism and traveling, well, there's a travel ban with 33 countries, and they're only gonna review that by the end of March. So I think the competition ends in May, so it wouldn't be relevant at all to think about those sectors if we were thinking about if we were planning for taking advantage of the potential growth by the end of lockdown.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a really good point.
What
Yeah.
percentage of the Israel's population has had the 2 jabs? Do you know that, Mateo?
I'm sorry?
What percentage of the population has had kind of the 2 shots of the vaccine in Israel?
In Israel, I think it's quite high.
Probably Israel is kind of first or second country in the world that has vaccinated the most of its people.
As of February the 10th, 29.1% received the second jab and 44% the first jab.
Okay.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
That's very high.
Would you mind backing the slides back up there, mate?
Yep.
Aim
Right.
at today is to really top up some holdings, close current ones, or open up some new ones.
How much free cash do we have done right now?
A lot. I think we've got 200k.
Okay.
So a fifth of total capital we need to get spending it. Part of it is due to my poor allocation. Part of it is maybe cashing out positions and not reusing the capital. But at the end of the day, we've got 200k cash to spend, and it's better spent earning something than just to be sitting there. So moving on.
PayPal's down 3.5% today.
Yeah, I mean they've just beat earnings as well. So quickly going over it, I'll quickly gloss over this one, Jamie. So the process is, we're not going to do it all day. It's too much to do all the day. In market conditions change, so we want to like get the best prices where we can, whether it's opening up new ones, or closing out new positions, or averaging in at a good price. We need to maintain somewhat of a strategy. That's just a given. And we need to have holdings which hedge each other out. And hedging is intended positioning, which offsets the losses of another. So I've got a small example below. Commodities versus tech. It's a classic. So when technology falls, it's quite like a speculative sector. Gold tends to rise because it's seen as a safe haven, and it kind of switches like every so often. So in March 2020, we're seeing a big reverse from speculative stocks which sold off, and a massive influx of capital to gold, pushing the price up. And when people start receiving stimulus checks, interest rates were plummeting, bond yields were going to the ground. We're kind of seeing that reverse again, because tech was seen as maybe a bit of a riskier bet, but the risks were minimised. And yeah, that gives some premise to our portfolio, because we've got the likes of Freeport McMoran who mine copper. And obviously the EV demand feeds into that, so you could call that quite well hedged, because the losses would balance out the profits of each holding. So yeah, any questions on that one? If not, just put a comment in, take yourself off mute. If not, I'll just assume everyone understands that.
Yeah, all good.
All good, right, cool. So next slide. Yeah, today's top up. I've got some graphs here. Makes life quite fun, doesn't it? Yeah, exciting. Yeah, so copper's looking very bullish as a whole. Well, I think 7 or 8 year highs, which is great. In the sense that a bit of momentum takes the highs up a bit higher. On the other hand, we're getting a bit toppy, getting a bit frothy at the top. So macro environment's fairly healthy. Chinese demand's driving it with their post-COVID recovery. So we've got some graphs here. Number 37, positioning. Ignore the title, pay more attention to the graph. So the black line is the copper price, and the red line is the futures positioning. And futures contracts are simply forecasting the demand for it. So in fairness, the red line will tend to drive up the black line, and we've seen a big push in the futures position, so people are forecasting a strong future demand for copper, essentially.
Dan,
and that translates to a higher copper price.
Sorry to interrupt you. You always mention that China demands copper. Is China the only country that is demanding copper? Because you always speak only about China asking for copper.
Yeah, they're not the only ones, but they are the main drivers.
Okay.
Partly due to being a very good COVID recovery, and partly due to government programs driving electric vehicle demand up, with government receipts there. We've also got the likes of infrastructure taken off there. We've got the influx of foreign direct investment driving that. But then we've also got India really starting to catch up there. Whereas you go to Europe and North America, they're either in the midst of a massive COVID like crisis right now, and the US has their own copper mines, whereas China and India are more than likely importing it.
Okay.
So on graph 38, survey, ignore the title again, you can start to see copper demand or the sentiment really going up, which represents a bit of a bullish tone. So it's probably a fair good time to get in there now and ride that wave up. And by the time it starts to dip again, the competition's probably ended. Console, have you got any thoughts on this one?
I mean, what you've explained is a perfect valid reasoning to put more money into our copper's holdings. Absolutely.
Anybody else have any thoughts? I'd rather get some contrasting points in the mix.
You sell the pitch so well done that nobody's going to go against that.
Would we be topping up was it the mines that we invested in, or what are you talking about investing in the futures?
Yeah, so we currently, it's a good point. We have an equity called Freeport McMoran. I think Gonzalo's going to find it now.
Which ticker is it?
FRE, I think.
FRE. Anyway, I don't know. I don't seem to find it.
XX, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So Freeport McMoran, general fundamentals are US based, US listed mining company. They have mines around South America, North America, and they export globally. Financially they're healthy. They can service the current liabilities and the future liabilities. Generally robust accounting ratios from prior research. And they've really benefited from the prices of copper rising. So as you can see from our position, we kind of caught a nice low and rode it up about there. And we could really start up in our position based on the graphs I've just presented. Because fundamentally, the price should rise again. But I'd welcome any other opinions on that. Anyone, seriously, feel free to chuck a comment in or take yourself off mute. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next one.
I can't think of any.
I'm just sorry. I'm just wondering, like what time horizon we're looking at.
So the competition end?
A month and a half?
Yeah.
Probably.
About a month.
Okay.
So enough time to have a small impact.
Right.
What are your thoughts, mate?
I mean, there's been like quite a lot of varying sentiment around silver recently. I mean, I've got quite a few positions in silver, but that's more like long-term future because they're quite heavily involved in the production of solar panels, and obviously with the Biden government, they're going to be getting quite heavily invested in, as well as that, like the 5G, but with a semiconductor shortage, I'm thinking maybe hold off like in the near term.
Fair enough. Have you got any companies in mind, or? Dylan, have you got any companies in mind that would mine for silver or anything like that?
I was just thinking like tracker funds, to be honest, not like specific companies.
Alright, fair enough. Would you mind maybe creating like a short overview for next week?
Yeah, of course. No worries.
Yeah, cheers, man. Appreciate that. I've got a small pitch that I want to present for the next slide. Really short, it's just an idea. It's nothing more. So, more graphs, how thrilling. Quite pretty graphs, I think. So, we've got a fast rising sector coming to the spotlight, which is agriculture. I'm not sure if anyone's well versed in it. I've only just started researching it myself for the past few weeks. But the prices of agriculture is a good indication of potential future inflation. So it's quite a risk-averse move. Hedges out potential losses in larger tech companies. It's more of a profit preserver. It's not going to be a winning strategy. It's going to be a nice, steady one. So no company focus just yet. It's just an idea. So grains, they're quite inelastic. Demand is always going to be there. And so when I say demand is going to be inelastic, it means the price isn't going to be affected by income or by the price of it. It's got to be bought. Any economists in the chat, I mean, feel free to just go in on that, but I think I've given a pretty good overview. So you've seen the red line and the black line on graph 39. The futures positioning of agriculture has skyrocketed compared to the black line, which is the floor right now of grains. And so it would indicate that the broader kind of equities in agriculture are then going to track the futures position so go up. And it's reflected in graph 40 as well, where the sentiment towards grains specifically has been bullish. So it would make sense to follow that bullish trend and ride it up. A time where in a macro environment, Brexit's just happened, there's supply issues globally. It would make sense to cash in on this trend, I think, but I'm open to other views.
Actually, let me say something about the charts, and is that in the black line on the left, I mean, it seems as if the price has been coming down, which it has, but the thing is that this is a very long-term chart. So if you focus kind of above the 20 number, you see that it's coming up in kind of from 2020, so it's not as bearish as it looks. And then something else, Dan, do you think it could be good to go for specific companies that have this kind of thing, or probably more of an ETF that might have a bunch of companies related to that, because maybe single companies might be very
volatile?
Yes, what do you think?
Yeah, so ETFs, an exchange traded fund, for everyone that doesn't know, is a basket or a collection of equities, and you would invest in all of them to a small degree, so you benefit from investing in them all, essentially. The reason why I would in from that approach is we have the capital to kind of invest bigger amounts into in more individual positions. So we've got a bit more freedom in that regard. And I know Greg got a bit of slack on the fund managers for taking an ETF approach and got cited that reason. So it'd be stupid to kind of follow in his mistake twice. As for a pro, I would really kind of get like a bit of a market universe and see who's leading what space, whether it be certain grains, are they leading that market, who's the healthiest financially, who's got the highest future demand, where they're geographically, what geographies are experiencing like maybe a bit of a decline in demand, or who's going to benefit from maybe a bit of transport issues where we can kind of have the same competitive advantage, for example. But like I say, it's just an idea, it's just a thought. There's no companies in mind, so next week there'll be a company placed in front of you all with some reasons why they deserve an investment, with some comps as well. If that answers your question, Gonsol.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Perfect. Anybody else have any input?
Yeah, I had an idea. I haven't made like a proper presentation because didn't have time. But I mentioned this to Dan last week. I read an article about a share buyback program by UBS, and well, in economics, for an essay I was doing some research, and I read that share buybacks usually increase the price of in the short term of the stocks in about 10%, which in addition, like, they have been growing not massively, UBS, but they have. I'm gonna share my screen.
If you want, I can put
Can I
it
share my
on
screen?
Exante, but yeah, you can.
Are you able to share your screen, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice
So
one.
I don't know what you're seeing right now.
Yes.
Yeah, the Yahoo Finance.
Yeah. So I mean, since like October, they've been growing quite a lot, but recently they down. Also, their PB ratio is 0.93, which like might be a bit undervalued, so it could grow in the near future. They have a trailing PE of 8.73, and also return on equity of 11.6%, which is higher than some of their competitors. I haven't done a lot of research, to be fair, but just thought some metrics could be useful. But yeah, more importantly, the idea just came from the buyback program, because that they did that. They announced the program after their profits rose quite a lot in the last quarter, thanks to like Corona recovery and all that, like across Europe. Although it hasn't been exactly like that in January and February, but still, they will keep going with the program. That shows, one, that investors are confident that their shares will be have value, hence why they are buying more, and that also we know for sure that they will be buying shares, which means that there will be less supply, and thus higher price as well, and we could profit from that.
No, sounds good. Do you know any kind of industry specific metrics?
No, not really.
Because I was going to say that you mentioned the PE ratio of 0.93, was it?
I'm sorry?
You mentioned the PE ratio.
It was PE, trailing PE 8.73 and forward 9.58.
So do you know how that sits in line with some of the competitors, for example?
Yeah, I did. I was. Where is it? I was looking at Barclays and Credit Suisse and a couple more this morning, but I can't remember where I left it. I remember it was. I thought it was promising, but I couldn't tell you right now unless I started looking for it.
Well, just in relation to that, would you kind of mind putting together like a brief, like kind of a basic comparison table of some main competitors in the industry and seeing if there's any patterns in the price? Just a super basic kind of comparison if that's okay.
Wait, not like how? What do
So
you mean?
maybe like a table of Barclays, UBS, HSBC, like the big investment banks,
Yeah,
kind of compare each of their ratios against their
yeah,
share
yeah.
price.
And drawing some conclusions from the ratios.
Yeah, if you give me a moment, I can find it in the. Just
Cool.
let me find it.
Has anyone got any kind of directions, generally speaking, about market trends or areas of interest for that matter?
I think it was maybe one of the speakers at the ESG events who said that hydrogen could be an interesting area to look at. I know that it's part of the government's 10-point plan, and I was reading some consulting articles just for some background research for my applications, and they were saying how they think hydrogen is going to be the front runner in some of the sustainable investment opportunities this year in 2021. So even if we just put some money in like a hydrogen fund, if we can find a good one, that could be good. I think I might have actually written down the one that they mentioned in the LUUTIS talk somewhere.
Perfect. Just could you pop that in the chat then? Like,
Yeah.
the chat kind of continues through, so it doesn't matter when you put it in.
Yeah, sure. Let me have a look for where I wrote it down.
Yeah, just broadly speaking, it's if more people can pay attention to like the LUUTIS calls and kind of pick up on content that's spoke of, even if it's irrelevant, it's great just to drop it in and have a chat about it, because it's like as a fund group, it's all about this collaboration and fostering like everyone's development by chatting about it, because although it seems minor, everyone's going to benefit from it. Console, have you got any thoughts on that? Kind of like focus. Nice one, Jamie.
No, I have to say that I probably said this 2 weeks ago. We should probably increase our positions in the stocks that are doing well, and maybe decrease our positions in the ones that are in red. But I don't have anything else to say.
I mean, my kind of point that I'm going to take away from this meeting is we'll take Freeport McMoran, the copper miners, and maybe start adding maybe 20-30k to it on dips. So maybe 10k allocations. We'll take 3 dips, and we'll start topping up that holding and latch onto that trend. And then when the next meeting comes, we can maybe top up another set of holdings together after some data-driven insights. If that sounds good to everyone.
It is probably good if we have most of the cash available invested kind of a month before this competition ends, so probably by the end of this month.
Jamie, did you want to make a little input? Because I've seen you tip yourself off mute there.
No, I was just saying that sounds good. If we wanted to top up the Freeport mine in the dips, but yeah, I think the hydrogen fund could be a good place.
Could you maybe like snuss out maybe like 1 or 2 holdings out of that fund? Because we've got the capacity to kind of pick and choose and really benefit from a larger amount of capital. Any holdings, you've got total freedom over it.
I think Atlanta could be a good one to top up as well. They've dropped a bit because their fourth quarter earnings, even though their revenue was above what they expected, they still made a loss. And I think in the coming week or 2 weeks, their like share lockup period is going to end as well. And normally with the share lockup period, I've researched that their share price dips again. So maybe we could maybe buy some now and then after the lockup period.
would it not make sense to hold off until the lock-up period and buy the bigger day?
That would be a better idea.
But no, great idea. That's Palantir, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hold them personally. Great company.
Right.
I'm up, I think, 110% on them.
See, I didn't know about the lockup period till I bought one yesterday, and now I've just researched about the lockup period.
I didn't know that until you just told me, so everyone wins. Has anyone got, just before we kind of cut this one off, has anyone got any personal investment holdings that they might want to share, that it could be beneficial to the fund?
Yeah, I just look in the aviation industry. I think it's really good for the long run. If you can wait for a few years, you can really benefit from that. I don't think we can use it for the short run, for the competition, but in general, American Airlines, Boeing, Delta, we can't go wrong with it.
Solid ideas, but definitely agree with you. Cool. So if everyone's happy with kind of cutting the meeting there, go on, Sol, have you got any input for anyone leaving or?
No. So next meeting done, and I think
so
we can do it.
Before people start leaving, the hedge fund Upside. I don't know, LUUTIS have had a few calls with them. I've put it on the Facebook page already. There's a call with them, a meeting, 6 till 7. I'll be there for sure. I've no doubt it's useful, but then again, I know everyone's had enough of LUUTIS this week. So I just want to kind of highlight that one because Holden said it's going to be quite a good one.
When is that? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, 6 till 7.
Okay.
It's kind of like portfolio management and all that jazz. So I'll definitely be there for that one. But apart from that, feel free to leave, people. I'm around for a chat afterwards if anyone has any burning questions or just wants to chat. Cheers for the night, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Right.